Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm close the door.
Station 101 for your soul. Oh, for your soul. Bring it home. Bring it home. 'Cause even though we're miles apart, you're never alone. Ooh. Baby girl, I'm filled with joy. 'Cause I'm coming home. And this must be the place where you're feeling isolated. Whoa. And you're on your own. I can't stand it being away from you, baby girl. No. It's kinda complicated.
Check.
No.
Cool.
You see, I'm working on all day, but because of your sweet love.
Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness. It's really good to be back. My name is Ariana Gonzalez. I go by Ari. Some of you know me as Navie Sabe on the performance side of things. But I am so extremely excited to say on episode 30, we are officially back with the Run It Back podcast, which is a music industry news podcast where we also do music reviews and just talk about everything that's going on in our tumultuous industry. This podcast was made for educational and informative purposes. Everything I do, I try to be as much of a resource as possible. And we have upgraded so much, if y'all can see, in terms of production value and what we have going on. We're taking the step to just continue to go further. If you've been watching this podcast for a while or have just stayed up to date with what I have going on, you know that for 29 weeks, I did this in my home by myself, just going live on Instagram and YouTube. Same format as I have now in terms of the way that things are done, but coming to you guys in my truest and purest form, just home, chilling at the crib, talking about what I love, which is the music industry. Huge, immense shout out to Innerspace Orlando. That is where we are at today. That is who is helping make this huge jump in production value come to life. Innerspace Orlando is a full-service AV production studio in Altamont Springs, Florida. And we are currently in their screening room, which is a little bit like a mini movie theater where you can host music video watch parties. You can have a little mini film festival in here and screenings and things along those lines. You can also record your music here. You can also record music videos here. You can do photo shoots. There is like limitless possibilities when it comes to the space. So once again, so much gratitude to both Danny and PJ at Innerspace. Make sure that you guys check them out if you haven't. Dare and Defy, my company, has a great relationship with them and will always recommend and refer folks to get anything that they need to done here. With that being said, I'm so excited to get into this, you guys. We have some cool music to talk about, some cool stories to talk about, and I hope that you guys enjoy the way that this is formatted now. This is our first time doing it in this kind of setting, so it's going to be a learning process for all of us on how to make this the best experience for the viewer as possible or listener, because we are officially going to be bouncing the audio and putting everything out on DSPs and make us a little bit more of an official podcast. But with that being said, I'm going to start getting into the content of what we have going on. You guys will see either the content on screen that I'm talking about or behind me eventually, and just kind of throughout the day. You see, there's a boom, ta-da, high tech, great stuff. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is some new music. We are covering October 31st through November 5th. Today is the 6th. And we're just going to get straight into it. The way that the music reviews work, if you DM me, if you send me an email with a Spotify or YouTube link, I will automatically talk about your music, listen to it on one of the episodes. It may not be when you think it is, but I promise you I will get through it and it will be a part of an episode. If it isn't, stay persistent with me. I will always make sure that if you're sending the proper things that, will go along and move you through this segment. This has a lot of awesome Orlando talent today that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be highlighting to folks in Orlando specifically at the very end. But on that note, I'm just going to get into it. The first song that we are going to talk about is called Avalanche by Kashi. Now, this is like, what this song gives me is like a cruising mood. You know, you're in your car just cruising down the highway kind of thing. It has high energy, but it's still vibey, you know? So bringing very, very good positive stuff in terms of the emotions that I got from this song. There's a good change in your flows, and there's a, you know, nice use of space in there. So just in terms of the structure of the song, you did a good job on keeping us engaged. I like the way that the sample is chopped, but it becomes a little bit repetitive. So when we get into your production aspect of things, I don't know if you did this in-house or if you outsourced this from another producer, but whoever chopped that sample, I recommend that they experiment a little bit more with it, because it does get easy to get loopy when it comes to samples, and it's, in my opinion, always better to avoid that rather than not. So that would be, you know, my main critique and takeaway from that song. Real quick, if you're looking for it on Spotify, this is what you're gonna find. So go ahead and take a listen to this song. Let him know what you guys think about it and show some support. We are gonna move on. The next song I'm going to talk about is like a totally different vibe from anything that is on here. This song is called Sinisk, I believe. I'm probably saying it wrong. But this is by Grenmere. And I met this cat a while ago back in Nashville at a conference, and the type of music he does is so specific. I love the brand that he has for himself. He's going for this like gothic, dark, Nordic, like tribal stuff, which is super cool, and it translates with everything that he does. So this song is extremely cinematic. This is not a song that is going to be for your average listener, because the lyrics that are in this are of a choral sense, and they don't come a lot. This is a very instrumental track, and really crafted for sync, which is beautiful, and I know that that's a direction that he wants to go in. When I heard this song, there's a lot of possibilities with it. There could be like, all of it needs to be intense, because this is a very intense song, but I was getting like visions of church, war, royalty, and various just different action-based scenes. Overall, what I took away from this, because I can't, like, sonically, this is extremely well put together, from top to bottom. Content-wise, I really want to see you get creative with this, because you can. The type of music that you make, because it's cinematic and you're telling a story with your music, I want to see what you can do in terms of short form content that's like simple and almost kind of skit based, but not in such the like cheesy sense that we may be thinking about it. But yeah, I feel like you should create some original characters, get into, you know, a get up, and really in a short form, you know, 10, 15 seconds, give us an example of what we would see while watching, or what we would say while watching something that has this song or any of the music on your catalog within it. With that being said, I'm going to move on real quick. If you're looking for it on Spotify, this is what you will see. So make sure that once again, you guys show him some love, show him support, and let him know what you think of the song. So next, we're going to talk about a song called Polaroid by Noon. This is like a hyper pop infused indie pop song. Like, production wise, this is very like head to toe indie pop, bedroom pop vibes. But when it comes to the vocals on this, if you translated this onto like some more drum and bassy kind of stuff, it would be immediate hyperpop, which is super cool. There's a lot of fun lyricism in this. Like, I could tell that you were having fun in the studio while you're recording this song. And I loved when you started singing, or when you started rapping in Spanish. I feel like it added just a whole new energy. It was something that was unexpected, and it kept us engaged, which, if you've been watching this for a minute, and when I talk about music in the review section of things, that is always the most important thing to me, is am I staying interested throughout the full song? And I believe wholeheartedly that you did this on all fronts, from production to the lyricisms to the the language that you were speaking in. So I love it. There were some unexpected melodies in this that works, and I feel like this is kind of drawing back from the fact that your vocals are very reminiscent of hyperpop. So it juxtaposes the production and the, you know, what we're listening to on the instrumental side of things. But I think it's really cool and it works in a very weird way, and I love stuff like that. So if you are interested in either of those genres, I definitely recommend seeing how Noon, you know, fuse them together. Now you had a good use of space in this song, so in terms of, you know, separating your phrases from one another. But I do want to see what you would do, just getting more creative with your ad-libs, filling that space in some type of way. Of course, there can be those moments of silence, and that's fine. But there were some parts in this where I could like hear you with your ad-libs in the back, like doing something, and I just want to see you kind of unleash that, because I feel like it would take things up just one more step. And really quickly, this is a SoundCloud link, but if you're looking for it, this is what you will find. And just a heads up, I know we are live right now, but once I go through everything, I'll be putting the links to all of the music, all of the people in the description of each platform that we're on. I know we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and we're on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in like just hearing more and having a bit more direct access to anything I'm talking about today, it will always be in the description afterwards. But yeah, let's move on. Next song. We have Sadie Cannon with a song called Something That I Told You. Now, this is like R&B and funk infused pop. Very reminiscent of Silk Sonic and that kind of sound, but less funky. But I feel like you're catching my drift. That is what she was bringing with this. And this like is one of those objectively good songs in the terms of it was executed the way that it was supposed to. Songwriting is there, production value is there, the mix is great. Like everyone did what they were supposed to do on this song. But I want you to get more creative. Sometimes pop can feel soulless, and I don't mean to say that your song sounds soulless, but it can feel almost robotic. That's a better word for it. And I just want you to have more fun and get a little bit more creative. There were some phrases in this where you held, you know, the same note in cadence for like 3 or 4 bars, which there's just ways that we can make this a more interesting song. And like I said, just have more fun with it and get more creative. So that is the primary thing that I want to see from you. But overall, the sound that is in this song, and if you're staying persistent with it, is very good commercially for a bunch of stuff. Whether primarily I can hear like beauty stuff, whether that be skincare, very heavily women-oriented kind of things. But yeah, if that is kind of a road that you're trying to get into in terms of what you're doing with sync and how you're, you know, exploiting your works, then I would lean into that for those purposes, because sonically very commercially viable. And real quick, if you guys want to take a look at that, this is what you will find when you're searching. Very pretty girl. Awesome stuff. But yeah, we're going to move on to the next song, which is from The Wicked Saint, a great cat here in Orlando, Florida. Super nice guy, with a song called All That You Want. So this is some electronic pop stuff that we have going on. Very cool. He has an extremely theatrical voice. Like the enunciation of his words are always there. You can always feel you know, the passion, the emotion behind what he's saying, which I really appreciate about him. And it's so cool to hear how his voice interacts with the type of music that he's doing. So having this be like this, such a theatrical voice on the electronic pop is super interesting, and it meshes really well, especially in the chorus when you're hitting those longer notes. It's beautiful, and everything complements each other very, very well. I appreciate your use of vocal effects. They complemented what you were doing vocally, opposed to like being distracting or taking away from it, which is always very important. And finally, I just want to hear some more creativity with your ad-libs and stacking. Like there were a couple parts in this song where I was like, if he stacked himself like 2 or 3 more times just to get some more fullness in that and more power behind it, it would be freaking awesome. So yeah, I mean, just experimenting with the things that are going to add that little bit of variation throughout the song, and spending a little bit more attention to detail. I think that that's the biggest takeaway with that. And if you would like to check out that song, go ahead on any of your streaming platforms. You can do this. I'm a Spotify user, so that's what we're gonna look at. But yeah, if you're trying to find the song, this is what you are looking for. Moving on, AJ Gemstone, a favorite producer of mine, like in general, another amazing person here in Orlando, Florida. And he very recently came out with a single, BSG. I'm hoping that wasn't too hard on your guys' ears. I'm a little bit under the weather. But anyway, AJ Gemstone with BSG. He's trying to like have people figure out what that acronym is. So if you can figure it out, let him know. Holy crap, that was extremely necessary. But this song is a very classic AJ Gemstone song with a nice little sample chop. He's always very good at keeping us engaged with his production, whether it be because he's adding different effects on things or he's just totally switching things up, which is always appreciated and exemplified in this song. If you get the sample cleared, this would be good for sync. I could hear it, you know, going commercially with like different tech brands or any brand that is looking for like that specific kind of like early 2000s, 2010 nostalgia, because that is having a ginormous, Jesus Christ, ginormous resurgence when it comes to brand images recently. This is also a short and a sweet song, which I appreciate. And if you're looking for it, this is what you're looking for. Ah, Lord. I'm taking a second to recuperate, y'all, because if you can't tell, I'm going crazy right now. All right, moving on to the next song. These last two songs I have in here because these are some phenomenal Orlando artists that I have been listening to these two songs on repeat for a couple weeks now. And I had it in my head that like I was definitely going to shout them out specifically and talk about these songs, even though they've been out for a minute, because I just love them so much and I feel like it's right to do so. Jay, the motherfucking Prodigy in the building. Absolutely amazingly talented artist with his recent single, Darlin'. This is R&B inspired pop where he is singing his ass off. And if you know Jay from around the scene, you know for a long time he's been very much in his rap bag. So seeing him step into this space of singing has been really fucking cool, and this song just exemplifies how far you need to go when it comes to continuing to sing. The songwriting in this is immaculate. You did a great job of painting a picture and telling a story through your words. The production matches the lyricism really well, which I appreciate. Sometimes we juxtapose things, sometimes it's a little disconnected, but you did such a good job of creating the emotion sonically and matching it perfectly with exactly what you were saying, which is great. There are so many like stank face moments, as I would call them, where you just hear it and you're like, God damn. There is magic in this song. Like I love it so much, and that's why I'm talking so highly of it. But I'm genuinely very serious. It's good for sync, especially because I know that this is a one-stop. I can hear coming of age stuff in this, like modern rom-com, definitely romantically oriented in general. And like I said, just keep going and keep doing this and experimenting with this specific sound, because you captured magic in a bottle with this, and I want to continue to see you grow with that in mind. Really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the link for you guys so you can see what it looks like on Spotify. Oh Lord, if it's gonna load. Nope. Here we go. Jay the Prodigy, and you can go ahead and take a look at those lyrics that I'm talking about. And just go show support, show them love, tell them what you think. And the final song that we're going to be talking about today is Want Me by Dyshawn Beckett. So another phenomenal artist in Orlando. And another, pop song where we have a man singing, doing his thing. It's also another love song. But all I have to say, the melodies in this are extremely infectious. Like when we talk about like catching magic in a bottle and those just like visceral reactions to music, Dyshawn has a very good sense of how to do that. And that is what like writing hits is capturing that. And a lot of that has to do with the melodies. It's extremely infectious. That bridge, I don't care how many times that I hear it, it's gonna hit every time because it's just that good. Especially same thing similarly with Jay. Just the production matches exactly what you're saying very well. The ebbs and flows of what you're saying along with the production, it just creates, it's cinematic without being so in such a literal sense. And man, y'all are just great songwriters, and I wanted to highlight that. But overall, similarly NSYNC, I could see the same stuff as with Jay, coming of age, modern rom-com, anything romantic in general. It could be an action, but definitely with a romantic or, some type of scene that have to do with two people who like each other. Anyways, that's that. Real quick, gonna show you this page as well for those of you who are watching, so you can see what you're looking for if you're looking for this song. Once again, go support, show them love, all of that good stuff. And just to reiterate, all of these links are going to be in the description following the official close of this. So if you want just more direct access to anything that I'm talking about today, go ahead and find that. Next, we're going to get into the meat of the podcast, and we're going to blow through it pretty easily. I specifically made sure that I didn't put too much in here because, like I said, if you've been watching this for a minute, you know that we can stay here for a while. But I want to try to keep things as concise as possible and bring you guys information that you actually care about or is truly useful and helpful. So my likes is a section where I just talk about shit that I want to talk about. That doesn't necessarily prescribe to any of the predisposed categories that I have when talking in this podcast. So first up, Rihanna. This woman who has been holding us hostage with her Fenty empire has finally put something out. And she's going to have music in the next Black Panther movie. I think that this is iconic. And I'm just excited to maybe hear her do some other stuff. If you didn't know, she is allegedly going to be performing at the Super Bowl as well, which I think is going to be phenomenal if that happens. And the memes and the jokes around that have been really funny. But I hope that she is stepping back into her musical bag. I don't want to pressure Rihanna into feeling like she has to if she doesn't want to. If beauty and apparel is her new thing that she has a passion for, I want her to move forward in that. But the Riri fans, just give us a sip of water. You don't have to pour the whole bottle on us. But please. And we got some crumbs. We're getting some crumbs. So I'm just excited about it, and I think it is a really big deal. Next, we're going to talk about Glorilla. So this that you see on screen is a little bit of just the line of events of how we saw it as fans, as listeners, as civilians, play out via social media between Glorilla and Hitkidd. If you don't know, they are having a dispute over basically the ownership of the song, what should have been done with it, and Glorilla not making any money off of FNF, which, if you haven't heard it, you're living under a rock. Glorilla is the most recent rap girl taking the industry by storm, and she's proved some of the things that she's said while going back and forth in this. But overall, this is a really interesting thing to talk about because of the claims that have been made. So on October 16th, Hit Kid called out Glorilla on Twitter after the Memphis rapper and her team allegedly tried to seize ownership of the viral hit. This is how everything started, right? The 27-year-old producer claimed that Big Glow signed paperwork for the song on which he shares co-billing. They have a 50% split, artist, producer. Without informing him of the terms of the deal, and is now trying to drag him to court over the issue. So essentially, they had 50-50 partnership. I don't know if they had a production agreement or if all they signed was a split sheet, so I don't know what their agreement was in terms of what could be done with the song and who has the authority to do so. But Hit Kid was pissed that essentially Glorilla went forward and signed a contract that had FNF be a part of it. And he felt that he was entitled to know that that was going on because he had a stake, a piece of ownership in that song. So from there, we get statements a little bit back and forth, one of which being, so basically these folks are trying to take me to court over FNF because they want to own the song. But they want to own the song to put it on this EP, which both parties knew. He wrote, so tell me how you gonna put FNF in your contract without telling me. So just continuing to verify that Hit Kid was just not happy about the fact that Glorilla did this with and that's where it is. Arguably his, arguably her. They're together this song. He wanted to be involved and just know what was going on. And that's up to you to decide if you feel like that is right or not. The real question is, what did the paperwork outline? And that is why we're in that lawyer suing stage of talking about things. Another statement from Hit Kid. He said, I also told you to let me know when the labels reach out to you so we can be on the same page, but you still went and signed my song without telling me. Once again, make up your own mind on whether you think this is right or not. I personally am always about like transparency. If you work on something with somebody, you should definitely let them know what's going on with the piece of work that you guys are doing. Money is involved, careers are involved. I think that's always the best way to go. But like I said, it's all really about the paperwork and if they had a production agreement, what it outlined and what each of their authorities essentially are, or if, the authority is brought by mutual understanding and decisions. So, then we get into some of Glorilla's responses to this stuff. She said, blank been salty every time I ain't signed to they label to be a group for $0. Shake my head. She wrote along with multiple crying faces. This was on Twitter, I believe. And I think that this gives us a better understanding of the relationship that Glow has with Hit Kid. She and Hit Kid have been working together for a very long time. They have been cultivating a sound together for a very long time, along with other female rappers. And some of that stuff is going viral right now. So I would pay attention to that. But it seems like this relationship is going sour for a couple of reasons. First of all, Glow didn't want to stay a part of the female rap group that they were making really cool stuff, but it seems wanted to be her own thing and go forward, and that there really wasn't any money behind that project of female rappers. Everything I'm saying is also just my understanding of things. So do not come for me, and if you have further information, let me know. And then FNF happened, and it seemed, to what Glorilla is saying, there was already some falling off because she didn't want to sign to something she wasn't making money with. And then she had a song pop off, and now her career is where she is in a very short amount of time. And what it seems like is she feels like they're salty that now she's popping her shit. And she says as well, one more thing before I go. You signed the song away the first week without me knowing for $50K because you didn't know how big it was going to be. Should I keep going? Somebody lying. Somebody's lying. I don't know who, but it just seems like somebody's lying. And maybe neither of them are lying. And both of them are just not thinking about each other and move forward in the ways that they wanted to, and they thought was the most lucrative and personally beneficial to each of them. But the part of this that I really want to get to, because I think that it is what matters, is Kadeem Phillips, who is the CEO of Power Entertainment, as well as Hit Kid's partner, says, "Let me address this from the business side, because I see a lot of confusion," he began in a Facebook post. End of the day, Hit Kid did great business. He gave up 50% of the masters and the publishing for FNF directly to Glow. We actually did everything to protect Glow from the industry and herself. Honestly, Glow independently collects the money for FNF, and it is all hers. She just doesn't own the song and never will. We actually saved her from losing millions, and Glow was able to get a deal without having to sell her independent record. Once again, I don't know how accurate this is, just solidifying the fact that there was 50-50 ownership in this song. And I was asked about what I think about everything when all of this kind of popped off, because it has been a minute of this prevailing. I can't say shit without seeing Glorilla's contract. And that's what it is. They're talking about, and Glorilla has bold-faced said, like, she hasn't made a red cent off of FNF. And that is what leads people to believe, okay, she signed this song, and that is what she is making her advance back off of. That is what I think is the most accurate thing. And this is another thing where it's like, these things aren't so cut and dry as, like, if this is right, if it's wrong, it's up to you. And for Glorilla, that exchange may have been worth it for her to be where she is right now in such a short period of time, because she, oh my God, skyrocketed up in a very short amount of time. And that fact may be worth it for her, if it's true that she sold the rights to her song, or 50% of the rights to her song, to her label. And would explain why they're going for Hit Kid to get that other 50%. Now, we don't know if Hit Kid has that 50%. Allegedly, he sold it. But I think this is interesting to look at and think about as independent artists, because what it is showing you is how important paperwork is and how important the relationship that you have with your producer is. Glow and Hit Kid, like I said, were working together for a very long time, and it took one situation, one song doing really well, a lot of money to be made, for now there to be this whole fiasco between people who like came up together and created a sound together and made art. You know what I'm saying? It takes one experience like that for you to now be having beef on Twitter with the longest standing producer that you have a relationship with. That is really what I want to get into this on. If you have Glorilla's contract, please send it to me, because I would love to see it and go through it and be able to dissect it. Because like I said, I can't talk too much about the inner workings of whatever deal that she has and the paperwork if I can't see it. But like I said, what I do want to communicate is how important the relationships that you have with your creative peers are, and how important having agreements in place to avoid this kind of situation truly is. With that being said, that has been super long-winded, and we are going to move on. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about is U Music Hotels, which is a joint venture between Universal Music Group and Dakia U Ventures, has opened its first property, U Music Hotel in Madrid, with plans to open hotels in the U.S. located within the Centro District of Madrid and inspired by the city's thriving culture, the renowned and recognized property with the epicenter of Madrid's music and entertainment scene. So I think this is really cool, and it's just an experience. The reason I put this in there is kind of to talk about that a little bit. They are creating revenue through an experience for their audience, and that is really the crux of what we do in entertainment. We create experiences for people, whether that be the experience that someone gets when they order your merch and they open the box, or when they come to a show, or when they listen to the music. This is just a crazier extension of that, or a larger, rather, extension of that, in creating a hospitality experience. So I wanted to put that in there. And I don't know, maybe there's some crossover with hospitality and music, some folks out there who would like some more information about it. So take a gander. Next up, Bruce Springsteen has made, a couple of comments about what his experience is like getting into the music industry compared to what it is now. And essentially has been saying, I'm thankful that I came up when I did, because shit is crazy out here for the artists of today. And I cannot agree more. He talks about, if you were a young guy playing guitar in 1967, 75, 85, you came up just as that. And then it just became a whole business. And it wasn't something that was like heavily thought about of like, let me do this and that and make sure that my content is here and have my dots connected in my relationships. They were just having fun and happened to be picked up by people who could bring them further in their career. Nowadays, artists got to do everything. Artists got to be the publicist, the producer, the engineer, everything. And that can be really overwhelming, especially when you're competing with absolutely everybody. And I think it's just cool that he made that comment, because there's, we're in an interesting time in music where, yes, the artist has to do everything, but possibility and probability are two of my favorite things to talk about. And it's possible for anyone to blow nowadays if you do the right things, you have certain things in place. I'm going to move on to the last or second to last story in this section. Ooh-hoo. So Matt Vines, who is the manager of Louis from One Direction, talked a little bit about his management philosophy in this article. And I just wanted to touch on it because I think it's really interesting and very truthful. So he says, "It would be lovely to do a deal, take a big advance, and spend 3 years developing an act. But the business doesn't work that way anymore. It's all encompassing. I have this conversation with the artists that I work with. The idea of the artist-manager relationship is a bit outdated, and actually we're simply partners in running a business. It's a very transparent partnership, and when you put that mindset on things, it gives you the opportunity to go about it differently." This is very, very true. There's this idea that there's a disconnect when it comes to artist manager, and one is giving advice and one is always shouting back, and there's this like just trying to mitigate the force of creativity in business, right? And that is absolutely true in some senses, but it's not as much of a battle as there may be the idea for. And that's why it's so important to have, if you're a manager, an artist who is adaptable and willing to learn, and as an artist, a manager who sees your vision, because that's what it is about, is having someone who is willing to help you put your vision to life. And I think that he said it very perfectly. We are business partners. And we want to move forward in the most lucrative way that we fulfill the mission and the vision that we have. And I just thought that was a good thing to talk about and kind of put in the ears of folks, especially artists who are in the process of looking for a manager or wanting to move into that sphere, or managers who are looking to get into that. If you are a new manager and are looking for ways to think about the relationships that you have with your clients. Cool. We are going to move on to the industry update section. This is just various information about what's going on in the industry, and we're going to try to breeze past it because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Oklahoma State University Greenwood School of Music's music industry program was recognized as the top music business school by Billboard magazine in its October 2022 issue. If it's something that you're interested in, go check it out. See if that's where you want to get your degree. The MLC is sitting on a pile of other people's money, i.e. the Mechanical Licensing Collective, the DSP's one-of-a-kind joint venture, Quango, mandated by the good folks from Washington who are here to help. We estimate that the MLC has got at least $500 million socked away at the City National Bank. This is crazy and very interesting, and it is just a testament of why you need to register with your royalty collectors, because they have that amount of money just sitting because it's not being collected. There's a lot of people who make a lot of music who don't know how to make sure they're being compensated. So it just sits and it sits and it sits and it sits. All the way to the point where it's estimated that they have $500 million in the bank. I wanted to put this in here as a testament to, please, if anything, you need to be with 4, but please at least get on MLC. I hope this sparks that in you. For those of you who follow along with like the further educational stuff that I do have a workshop all about royalties and self-publishing coming up, not next week, but the following week. So stay tuned on my Instagram and any other social media platforms to see how you can get involved with that and learn about different royalty collectors and make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. Moving on. Owensboro will see a new event take shape in the spring season with the launch of the inaugural Owensboro Music Business Expo from Thursday, April 13th through Saturday, April 15th. The Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum. The expo was created to help both aspiring artists and music industry professionals who have spent years in one of the multiple areas of the music industry and plans to bring some of the biggest and best in the business to Owensboro. Something to check out if you're interested in different conferences and things like that, especially if you are in the vicinity of Owensboro. It is safe to say that the current economic climate is not too kind to the live music industry and its professionals. Artists and their teams are better off canceling tours than facing unprecedented expenses. Soaring fuel and visa costs, plus merchandise cuts, are eating into artists' earnings and making touring unaffordable. Unless an artist is signed to a major label or financially well off, touring is becoming increasingly unattainable. So, if you didn't know, since the entire pandemic thing happened and COVID and all that craziness, touring has been like having some huge just ebbs and flows in terms of effectiveness, economy, all that stuff. Things have just been up and down when it comes to live music because of people being afraid of COVID, because of supply chain issues, because of cost. And this article is just kind of solidifying that cost is, as of right now, one of the biggest reasons that people are pulling out of tours, that they are stopping prematurely, that they aren't going well if they do go forward, because it's an issue that a lot of people are having. And I think it's interesting to be on like the local side of things because we make shit pop regardless, you know what I'm saying? Because we're doing things on a much lower scale and things are much less expensive when you do things on this level. So the local scenes, I feel like, are thriving. It's when people want to put up, you know, tours that have expenses of millions of dollars that you know, some issues are coming in. And I feel like we should exploit that and utilize that. And if you are someone who does stuff in your local music scene, I feel like you should just continue to go harder. Moving on. Lord have mercy. Sony's global music rights operation across recorded music and music publishing generated about $2.152 billion in the 3 months to the end of September 2022. The $2.152 billion figure was up 16.4% year on year at US dollar converted constant currency. In monetary terms, Sony's overall music rights operation generated approximately $303 million more in the calendar quarter 3 2022 than the prior year's quarter. So just some information about how the big bad Sony is doing. Moving on, Chordal is a collaborative rights platform that co-founders Jerry Ye and Grayson Sanders recently launched to transform global sync, embracing a new approach to rights management. The creative platform is the first of its kind to foster collaboration, improve transparency, and reduce friction for buyers. As labels, publishers, artists, and managers connect through the copyrights they share, the next generation of content creators is moving closer to music. So, if sync is something that you're interested in, if musical communities are something that you're interested in, I would definitely go try out Chordal, see how you feel about it. It's always just fun to see the new like startups and companies that are coming up and gaining popularity that can be used as resources. And so I like talking about them just so that if you haven't heard about it and it may be something that's interesting to you, that you can go forth and check it out and also hopefully spark it in yourself to do more research on platforms of that sort. All right, closing out this section, we have two stories left in this, and then we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon. A new music and careers development project from Doors Open, a resident advisor, aims to democratize knowledge and tackle the lack of representation in the music industry. Taking place at RA's London office on Saturday, December 10th, all access areas will consist of sessions, panels, and master classes focused on understanding the industry's ecosystem, identifying possible career paths, networking on how to properly apply for roles. You already know, like I said before, I try to be as much of a resource as possible. So if I can connect you to other educational resources, I'm going to do it. If you like education, if you are in the area or have the ability and the accessibility to be a part of this conference and this, project, go forth and do it. Finally, this is real simple. This is just a position change. YMU appoints Sophia Margeryson as Global Business Development Director. We have one story in Web3. We're going to talk a little bit about Elton John and what he's doing with Roblox. He has unveiled his whole own new world on the platform called Beyond the Yellow Brick Road, created by both Elton John and Rocket Entertainment, with Roblox creators, and support from UMG, of course. The virtual experience is live now, and it offers fans a new way to enjoy his catalog, express themselves through his iconic fashion, co-created with the community, and experience the icon's impact on popular culture. So, when we were talking about those hotels and stuff earlier that UMG is working on, this is the next wave of the experiences that we can create for our audience. And I think it's super cool to have Elton John be one of those people who's like taking the forefront and showing us how it's done. But like I said, this is the next iteration of how we are going to create experiences for our audience. If you're not, I say this almost every time that I talk about Web3. If you're not interested in it, I don't care. You should be doing your work to at least have a baseline understanding, because this stuff is coming. We've already seen it with Travis Scott and a bunch of other people, especially through Roblox. They have been like killing it when it comes to the relationships that they have with the music industry. But it's not going to go away. It's going to continue to get more realistic. It's going to continue to get more immersive and more user-friendly, comfortable, and accepted. So it's something that regardless of who you are in music, you should be having a general understanding of Web3 and what your plans to navigate it are. If that means you don't want anything to do with it, that's okay. I think you should make a calculated decision on why or why not you think that way. But I think that we should all be aware of what's going on, and this is the next step. Cool. Deals, acquisitions, and partnerships. We are trucking right along. We only have 4 more stories, and then we're getting out of here. So, Utopia Distribution Services acquires Synrom Novum, which is a warehouse fulfillment and distribution firm that provides services to independent and major record labels across the UK. Some of its clients including Sony Music Entertainment, UMG, Cargo Records, Trinity Creative Partnerships, and a bunch of other shit. As a result of the deal, Utopia claims that 300 jobs will be secured between retailers and artists. Will be secured as it takes over the business and various assets of Synrom through its UK-based Utopia Distribution Services unit. Next up, in partnership with distribution company United Masters, the Pepsi Music Lab, which took place in New York City on October 25th to the 27th, offered 12 rising artists mentorship and coaching from the music industry professionals, brand building workshops, performance camps, and more to help hone their craft and allow them to continue on the path to rising stardom. Finding out stuff like this with different programs that brands are doing for independent artists is always super cool. I know YouTube did something pretty similar a couple of months ago. Keep up with these things and find out how you can get involved, because I bet you that this isn't the last time that Pepsi is going to do a project like this. I know it's not the last time that YouTube is going to do something similar with what they did. So if you can get involved, this is, bottom up artist development and real resources that are being given out by these brands. And it is super cool to see. So I like to just bring awareness to the fact that it's going on, so that hopefully it will spark you to do more research on how you can get involved with whatever next one is coming. All right. Universal Music Publishing Group, Universal Music Group's leading global music publishing division, today announced an exclusive global publishing agreement to represent the iconic song catalog of Irving Berlin. The deal builds upon UMPG's existing relationship with Berlin's estate, as the company has served as his catalog administrator since 2012. Lauded as one of the greatest songwriters in American history, Berlin composed more than 1,500 songs over his 60-year career, from ballads and dance numbers to love songs and Broadway scores. Super cool. This is going to be very lucrative for them, and that's why they did it. Finally, at the end of every episode, if there is a death in the music industry, whether it be from a professional or an artist, we talk about it, we honor them, and I'm sure that most of you know that Takeoff has passed away. I'm not going to say too much on it, because honestly, none of us really know what really happened, and there's a lot of speculation and a lot of shit flying around about it. But at the end of the day, we can say for sure that, a soul was taken, that it's a sad thing. Someone was taken from their family. Someone was taken from their friend. There's trauma involved in that situation 100%. And overall, as I say on, any time that we talk about deaths on this series, my condolences go out to the fans, to the family, to anyone who feels an emotional connection to this person. And I just hope that every time that something like this happens, we grow closer to the people that we care about, especially the art that we care about, and we cherish that for what it is, and try to focus on that more than we focus on just ego and violence and bullshit, because it's 2020 to 2022 has been a very hard year in terms of the mortality rate of rappers, and it's just very difficult and sad to see people drop like flies. So I just hope that as it continues to happen, because it's not going to stop, and I think that we all know that, but I think that if we can take each step that we can to try and mitigate those risk factors and prevent stuff like this continuing to happen, that we should do so, and try to carry on that legacy with the way that we move, and stay smart about things. On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. That is all of the information that I have for you today. Once again, tremendous shout out to Innerspace Orlando. Go follow them on Instagram at InnerspaceORL. You can find me on Instagram at Nadie Sabe Official. That's NADIESABE Official. You can also follow Darren Defy at Darren Defy. We have so much cool stuff coming up. We're going to be doing this every week, exactly how we used to in the past. We just going up and doing cooler shit now. If you are interested in music industry education, every single Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, either in person or online, we are having music industry workshops also in this space. If you're here in person, if you're there virtually, that'll be a little bit of a different story, but you will be here with us nonetheless. And just continuing to elevate, do new things. If you would like to submit your music for next week's episode, go ahead and send me an email at ari@darendefy.net. Send me a DM on Instagram if that is easier for you. I will get around to you. We will work something out. And anyone who I mentioned today, if we haven't already, hit me up. Let's talk more in terms of how I can help you in your music career, what we can do with each other. But yeah, man, good stuff all around. This is cause for celebration. It's the 30th episode. We're continuing to push along after the official Darren Defy launch. So yeah, just feeling good about everything, feeling appreciative, and thank you guys for watching.